Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to helping individuals who are running their businesses with the intent of offering quality accounting services and getting paid what they're worth. It's in this podcast that we actually attempt to address the various issues that you may be facing as you're running your business, ranging from marketing, selling, pricing, client onboarding strategies, technology, mental health, and so much more. And today's going to be no different. Each and every episode I have on guests, experts in their own right to help us actually work on our business, and today is no exception. It happens to be Dr. Sabine Charles. She is an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, board advisor, author, and exam expert. Now, Sabine, she actually is the CEO and founder of Charles Financial Services, LLC, and that's a certified minority-owned, woman-owned business. The firm was founded in 2011 on the principles for developing and delivering high-quality assurance services, risk management assessments, and corporate training programs. Sabine is also a published author. Her first book was Cracking the Code, Techniques for Certification Exam Successes, and as well, her newest book, The CPA Doctor and the Certification Superpowers. So first of all, Sabine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So obviously, you're in the accounting world. I always like to find out what got you into this space, going back to the college years or whatever it may have been. What drew you to the accounting profession?
Well, that is a very interesting question because my first degree is in French and Spanish literature.
Interesting.
And a minor in international business. I graduated from Baruch College, which is in New York City, and it's primarily, they produce accountants out of that school. And I had a boyfriend who was destined to be an accountant, and I used to go to his classes, and I said, oh, this is horrible. I was like, I am not doing this. And so I ended up I got a degree in French and Spanish literature. I studied abroad. I wanted to do something in development or something like that. But then reality kind of hit me in the face when I was about to graduate and I needed a job. So a lot of the recruiters at the school, they come in one semester early because we produce so many accountants out of Baruch College. It's CUNY Baruch College. And so they come in and I said, you know what? I have to be strategic. So my friends, most of them were accountants. I said, the interviews you don't want, give me their business cards and I will reach out to them directly. So I had a plan to try to get a job by the end of the year because I thought it was unfair that all the accounting majors got interviews one semester earlier than everyone else. So
interesting.
People started giving me their business cards. Like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And a friend of mine was like, I don't want to go to Citibank. They want me to travel. And I was like, what? Travel? That's what I love. So I got the business card and I contacted the recruiter throughout the year. Every time I did something special where I had an internship or I gained some type of experience towards that job, I sent her an email just saying, oh, I'm very interested. This is what I'm doing. I would love to work for Citibank and work on their international team. I sent this woman an email every 2 months to the point where eventually she gave me a call. And I was like, who is this? Because I kind of forgot about it. I sent the emails. I never got a response back. And it was an opportunity to be on their travel team, their internal audit travel team. So I ended up interviewing for the position. Only person they took from the outside because they were all internal hires. There were 6 of us, and I was the one they hired straight from school. And I ended up living in Brazil and in Panama, working on internal audit projects. And that's where I learned Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, because we had to work in that language, because we were there to build relationships with the business. And so I decided that, hey, I'm going to use my language skills and really built that rapport, auditor and auditee. Hence, that's how I ended up in the accounting world with a French-Spanish degree.
This is incredible. So first of all, I love your tenacity, the fact that you were able to reach out to that recruiter on a continual basis. that's a testament to perseverance. I like that a lot. As for the accounting, it's a funny little journey. I like how you got into the accounting space. It's kind of interesting that it's through language that you got in there. I'm curious. So you get into the point where you're internal audit, you're doing the accounting. What's the bridge to then start your own business? Why become an entrepreneur?
Well, fast forward a couple of years, I landed a job where they said, you know what, you need a certification. This is like my dream job in audit. And I was like, oh, they said you have to pass this certification and or else you're going to be let go. They gave me a year to do that.
Wow.
So I said, oh, that's not a big deal. I mean, I could pass exams. So because of the stress of losing my job and the paranoia, and this is that mindset that I really, really help my clients. The mindset of, oh, if I lose my job, I'm going to be homeless. My kids are going to be taken away from me. You know, all of these crazy things caused me to fail the exam over and over again. I studied for a couple of weeks for another certification, passed it. Went back to this specific certification, failed it again.
Wow.
I traveled all over the United States trying to figure out what's wrong. I went to a hypnotist. I went to meditation. I mean, I tried it all these different techniques. Then I realized through all of this, I created my own technique on how to study, and I passed. And once I passed, I decided, you know what? I think I could help people because I may not be the only person going through this. I started that piece of it, and then it dovetailed into, because I was in the audit function for so long, I got opportunities to review internal audit areas for Fortune 500 companies. So that's how it was, just an idea. Like, I was like, oh, okay. People came to me and said, oh, we'll pay you to do this. I was like, really? And it was a hobby that really became a business. And that transition from a hobby to a business is sometimes quite painful, because you're the centerpiece of your business, but then you have to begin to let go. And let go in the sense that you have to at least outsource and understand you need assistance to help you.
Okay, so go back to your testing, let's say. Mm-hmm. You were obviously put on notice that you needed within the year to pass that certification. You say you passed it, so you kept the job and stayed there, or was that the launch to actually the business as you have it now?
Well, those are two different. So I have the job. Yes, I did stay there for a while.
Okay.
And I'm still working there. But now I have this business that I am also running.
Love it. Okay. So you're still there with Citibank, I assume?
No, this is we're fast forwarding a couple of years.
Gotcha.
After Citibank, I was in American Express, Deloitte, investment banking. I'm just fast forwarding to current day right now.
Yeah. That's what I wanted. No, so come up to current day. You're obviously working with people that would like to get their certifications. So I'm just going to jump into it.
Sure.
Why do certifications matter? You go into like a CPA, obviously that matters to the state. But in the accounting profession, there's numerous certifications. You can become a CIA, CMA, right. You could become a PB, a PGE. I mean, there's a lot of different designations that represent within the accounting profession certain specialties or expertises. By the way, for a number of years, I always used in my presentation the CIA one, and I thought that was the funnest one to always bring attention to. I'm CIA, and people were just like, "What are you talking about?"
Right,
I'm a certified internal auditor, so there you go. And that is a fun one. But all these all these designations outside of the profession really aren't well known. Typically, it's the CPA followed by the EA. And then after that, they become really specialties that exist in the profession that denote our skill sets and our expertise. So if somebody wants a certification, how's that of value to the firm? How does that help them distinguish themselves?
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. It makes you special. It helps you stand out. So you're right. The CPA, EA, and I also I help people pass those exams, and the CIA, the CFE, the CISM, right? So you have a bunch of these certifications out there. At the end of the day, you have to pick a certification that resonates with you, not
Yeah.
just get a certification that everyone has, because it's not going to help you in your career. If you're passionate about a specific area in accountancy, so become that expert. So then not only you're going to help promote your well-being professionally, but you'll assist the organization that you're part of by providing that expertise in that org.
So the thing that really resonates with me is just what you said. You've got to figure out which designation complements what you're trying to do career-wise and also offer as a service to your clients, because I could become a CMA, and a CMA is a certified management accountant, but if I'm not going to manage an accounting department, I don't need the CMA. And the same is
Exactly.
true if I don't intend to do, let's say, audits, and I don't intend to do tax resolution services. I don't need to become a CPA. Those are the only two things that can do that I can't do. So all of a sudden, it becomes a little bit more, let's say, strategic, identifying which designation, which certification you wish to pursue based on the services that you're trying to offer or the career path you're taking within the accounting profession. So I like this part of the discussion. So what causes people to freeze in these exams? Kind of like what you were struggling with. You went through hypnotherapy. You went through a variety of things to help you. What causes people to freeze like that?
It's fear. And actually, I'm now certified at hypnotherapy because of my journey. And I do help clients with that stress management piece of the exam. Now, it's fear, and the fear of failing or the fear of even succeeding, which is interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things I've experienced as I've worked with so many people taking exams is, for a lot of the people I interact with, they're in their 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
50s, in some instances their 60s. They haven't taken a test in 20, 30 years. They just create this mindset of fear, like you just mentioned, that can be debilitating. And honestly, it doesn't have to be that way. And I like how you just brought up like hippotherapy and mentioning that you're certified in that. What are some strategies that could be helpful to not only study and prepare for the exam, but mentally prepare for taking the test?
Well, the first thing, you have to understand your learning style. You have to learn and understand how you process information, because underlying, circling, making outlines may not necessarily resonate with your learning. So, getting that feedback first is important. Then the next thing is to have someone or create, I call it the GPS of success, coming up with a study plan, time management tool that will help you get to your finish line. And not just say, oh, I have to study 15 hours a day. If you only have 2 hours, then let it be 2 hours, but make it meaningful. And I always tell my clients, that you have to just think of yourself, not compare yourself with other people, because that's another stressor.
I appreciate that. I liked how you started by saying you have to know your learning or study preferences. Everybody has different techniques. And one of the things that I've always really tried to emphasize is it's like running a marathon. You just don't get up one day and go run a marathon or go do a triathlon. There's a good deal of training that goes involved. And if you're going to run a marathon, you can literally get a regiment that you can follow that's weeks prior to the race of running so many miles and then so many more miles, then so many more miles. And it's an exercise, but at the very end, it's also, you got to eat right. And in doing so, that puts you in that good mental frame of mind. Well, the same things for tests. I always tell people, don't study less than 1 hour. Don't study more than 3 hours, simply because after 3 hours, you don't retain the
Mhm.
information. 1 hour, it's just not enough to get immersed into the information. So a good sweet spot's between 1 to 3 hours of study in a single setting. And you want to actually, like you were describing, kind of pace yourself. What other advice would you have?
Well, I love what you just said about it's the right and left brain kind of thing.
Okay.
Working just on the material may not be enough because you do have lifestyle issues. You have your family, your business that you're running. You may be even in graduate school, or you may have never, as you mentioned, you may be out of school for many, many years. So, understanding that and putting the right support system around your desire to get this done is important. So, that's again another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Now, from a study perspective, I do know that we each learn differently. Some are
Mm-hmm,
visual learners, some are auditory, which is to say they listen and
mm-hmm,
learn. Others are tactile, which is to say it's through
mm-hmm.
exercises and experience that they learn by doing the practice tests and the assignments. So we each have different styles that we prefer to retain information through. But the one thing I will definitely suggest, and I'd like your opinion on this, is the fact that so many places offer practice exams, the ability to kind of experience the testing format. They're able to actually give you an idea of what the test questions are like, and through that you get a little bit more comfortable with, okay, this is how the test situation will be, here's how the test questions will come, and through that you get a little bit more comfortable so that you can now focus on the actual question at hand and answering it correctly. Is there anything else that you can add to that?
Well, as what I normally suggest to my clients is that during COVID, we had to wear masks. So I say take practice tests with the mask on. Make your room very cold because the exam rooms are usually very cold.
The
Wear
proctored rooms,
the
yeah.
proctor rooms. And I tell them also wear the clothes that you're planning to wear. It's all set up. It's about the mind. And so you set yourself up so that when you are in that environment, it's familiar to you. So you're not off your game, you're not taken off your game by a noise in the back room, or the room is too cold, or you have a mask on. So setting up, having practice tests, I'm all for it. But you have to first prepare and understand the core material before you could do practice tests, depending on your learning style. Again, it's all really dynamic and it's very individual based.
Yeah, I like how you're describing to duplicate the setting and circumstances so that you're comfortable with that environment. And no, you didn't say write notes on on the inside of the mask and take them in with you. I did. I distinctly heard that you didn't say to do that. So I appreciate
Exactly.
that. All right,
And one more thing, excuse me, but I think this is where hypnotherapy comes into play. The
please.
visualization piece. Because if you visualize where you want to go, it helps you to get there faster. So if you're an entrepreneur, you want to visualize where you want to go. And then you actually take those steps to get there. Because it starts up here in your head, and then it becomes reality.
Yeah. No, very good. This is wonderful. I need to ask. Obviously,
Sure.
as an entrepreneur, you've started your own business and
Mhm.
such. What's a lesson you've learned starting your business that was kind of a shock or an aha to you that you didn't anticipate?
Building the business to sell it. Building the business with create a business plan or strategy with in the back of your mind that you're going to sell it one day.
It's beginning with the end in mind.
That's right. Build to sell.
I like that. So that's a pretty good lesson. One of the things that I do notice is I do speak to a number of business owners, and when I ask what's the end game, how do they plan on transitioning out, retiring, I'm amazed at how often they just say they don't know. And I do challenge them, like you're saying, is figure out what does that look like? How does that end? And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It's not like you're putting this in granite, but it is nice to actually have some clarity as to where this is all headed, and you can build the business better that way. I agree. So, as accounting professionals, one of the things that I know a lot of us, I don't want to say struggle with, but oftentimes get asked or it comes up, and it's this proverbial work-life balance and
Mhm.
the challenges that we have where we're dealing with family, we're dealing with clients, we have our own business to run. What do you have to say that is helpful to increase a quality of life, but also retaining a quality of service?
It's about time management at the end of the day. This work-life balance, I mean, that is different for every person and every family. If you're building a business, you're going to have to put hours in. That's just that's just the way it works. But you have to take care of yourself, because if you're not well, then the business is not going to be run well. So knowing when to stop, sleep, rest, regroup, refocus, and come up with strategy is important. So what I do is I built in vacation, 4 vacations a year to be exact.
I love it.
And I built vacations in, and I have one vacation with my kids, one vacation with my husband, and one vacation by myself, and then one vacation visiting someone.
This is awesome.
That's what I do.
Yeah, no, this is wonderful. So there's a few things that I'm taking from this. One is your business can only be as good as you are, because it's an extension of you. So that's great that you're working on yourself. There's a phrase that came to mind as you were sharing that, and it's one that's really been a big part of my professional career. And it's basically no success can compensate for failure in the home. And that's been something that I've known for years, and it's really resonated with me. I'm willing to work hard and do a lot of the things that I do, but not to the point that I'm jeopardizing my family, my children, my relationship with my spouse, and so forth. But your point about vacations, huge proponent of that. I teach that quite a bit, and you're right. You need to have them often. And I like how you broke that out as to, you've got the one with your spouse, the one with your family, the one for yourself, the one with someone else. That's great. I really think the world of that. What other advice would you have for someone as they're considering, managing their life? You said time management. Is there anything you can add to that?
Well, I think time management, again, that vacation piece, just really figuring out when to take a step back and planning. And this may sound a little bit negative, but planning to have the business run without you. And in the sense that you may have to have insurance. People kind of shy away from insurance a lot of times. Like, you hear the insurance people like, you need insurance. You're like, how much life insurance do I really need? But if you're starting a business, you have to start thinking about, if you were to pass, can you keep the business running? You have people who you're responsible for, your employees. So just like maybe the key personal insurance, again, I'm not trying to sell anything, but just things that you need to start thinking. Who's going to follow in your footsteps? Just coming up with that. Okay, what if having the person in second in command, or someone who could carry on the legacy if you decide to perhaps step back, do more consulting work. Thinking about having enough sufficient cash on hand for these type of situations like a COVID, or some kind of situation that external factors that may affect our business. And then the last thing I'm just coming from the top of my head, having good relationships with your bank, having a line of credit available, not to use it, but just in case. So it can be seen as being negative, thinking, worst case scenario, maybe that's my internal auditor personality coming out, the strategic, kind of plan A and plan B. But those are the things that we should think about as we're building the business. And yes, getting clients, providing great service, but looking for sustainability beyond us.
I've got a quote that I always say. It says, we need to build our businesses so that they're self-sustaining, living, breathing entities that are able to exist aside from the business owner, outside of that days on, hands-on approach that the business owner has. And I think that that's so true in what you just shared. The first thing you mentioned earlier of beginning with the end in mind, building the business with your exit strategy, building a business that has operating procedures that allow other people to get the work done other than you. All these things are great pieces of advice, and I like it. And you coupled it well with the idea of we all need a break and taking the vacations like you had mentioned. So time management, very well said. So this brings me to the next thing. You've worked on your business. You've done what you've done. What are you proud of? I mean, starting a business, you've accomplished quite a bit. You work with so many great people. What is it that you're considering one of your greatest achievements?
I love helping people. And that sounds very strange for an internal auditor because most people think we're like, coming after them. But I see internal audit because again, as I mentioned earlier, I not only train people, individuals, but I do corporate training for internal auditors in Fortune 500 companies. So I do the quality assurance reviews of the internal audit function, and then I also provide services to help them retool and maximize the skill sets in the departments. So I love doing that because I believe that our profession is so helpful for organizations' health and prosperity. And so I am so proud when, yes, on the individual side, when someone is empowered by getting a certification and helping them, him or her, to better their lives and in turn helps their companies where they work. And as equally, I love when I help an organization help identify these risks that could prevent the organization from reaching their goals and identifying ways to improve processes. That is what makes me continue to do what I do.
So, as an accounting professional, as we're working with our clients and so forth, you deal with obviously internal audits. I'm just kind of curious, what is a piece of advice you would give to us as accounting professionals that could help us avoid maybe the common things that you see or experience?
Well, because the profession is so diverse, because you have auditors, you could start out as an accounting person, a degreed in accountancy, but then you have so many different paths. So that question is very hard for me to respond to because it depends on the path. So if I were to give some type of advice to internal auditors, I would be focused on leadership, audit leadership in an organization. And we like to say adding value. That's always a challenge for internal audit departments because a lot of times they have this thing they used to call the three lines of defense. So people translated that as being last on the list. We need to be upfront with the governance, upfront, C-suite, sitting at the table and really helping with strategy with the skill sets that we bring to the table. When we talk about accountancy, CPAs, EAs, and you're an entrepreneur, it's just making sure that you're providing and keeping up to date with all the changing regulations that are out there and having that service that will help your client prosper in whatever service that you're providing is, if it's tax or preparing their tax returns or doing some of their books and records. Having that knowledge base of what's coming and what is so important to stay, not just CPEs, but really diving in and understanding the environment, the culture, the economy, and how that impacts your client. So the answer to that question, I mean, it's very hard to really pinpoint just one thing because it's somewhat different for every line of business, if you will, in the accounting profession.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask this then. You've been running your business. Obviously, you've got a spouse that has supported you along the way. How has your spouse in this process really helped you as you've started and built your business?
Well, he gave me the idea. I mean, I started the business. I was a tutor and I started tutoring people. And he was like, "You explain these things so well. Why don't you just start a business?" And he gave me the name Tapa Institute. He's the one who came up with the name. At times, he thought I was just a little too gung ho with this. He was like, "You need to stop." But I'm like, I'm just starting out trying to get these things up to speed, hiring people to do the website and all of that. Even recently I just completed a graphic textbook It's a comic book, but a textbook to help people pass the CPA exam.
So, Sabine, being an entrepreneur as you are, how do your children learn from this? What do you hope your children are learning as you've gone on this journey and they've watched you run your own business?
Well, my son wants to run his own business. And he has noticed that I invest quite a bit because I used to be in investment banking and I enjoy investing in stocks and things, different type of things. He has his own portfolio. At the age of 10, he trades stocks and he watches the market. So by you doing things, your children, though you may not necessarily tell them you need to invest, you need to do that, they see the positives of what you're doing and they mimic it. Just like if they see negative things, they mimic it as well. So that's why you're playing a role model, and I feel like I'm helping my kids to become more independent, understanding business, and for them to find their voice and their passion through watching me doing what I love to do.
I love that. The children, mine, they're older now, but I think it's so true. They are watching, they are learning, they are observing. And there's so much that we're setting as an example as we run our businesses that they just really pick up on. And I've seen it in my daughter. I have two daughters, and they each are running their own businesses now.
That's great.
There's things that my son actually works for me, and so I get to work with him. And so there's a number of things that I didn't realize were either being watched and observed or maybe, let's say, gleaned from basically watching me, but I can just see so many things that have come from this experience that they've benefited from, and I'm happy to see that. So very good. I know that you're a motivational speaker. Define for me what that means in the sense that there's been over the years a number of things that have defined what a motivational speaker is. What do you mean when people refer to you as a motivational speaker?
Well, it's all started out when I decided to do summits, virtual summits during the pandemic. And I decided that I need to have Tappet Institute be a global institution. And I decided that global summits is the way that I would approach it. So I have 3 types of summits that I put on. I have one that's called Passing Your Certification, Pass Your CPA, Pass Your CIA. It depends on what exam. Passing X exam. I have Level Up Internal Audit, the passion that I spoke about. And the third one is about becoming unstuck. Happiness, money, and career. So I have themes. A couple of months ago, I had Becoming Unstuck, Financial Freedom. I'm having another one coming up called Reinvent Your Career. Those are the type of things that I feel that holistically will help us to improve and move forward in our lives. So that's what I mean by motivational speaker, not to say go rah, 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 but giving people tools so that they can now process these tools and use them to have them move forward.
I like that. And these summits, that's impressive that you're doing that, especially after everything that people experienced during that COVID period of time. I get that. So here's what I'd like to do. Sabine, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And as I wrap it up, I'm going to come back to you for a closing thought. But before I do that, I wanted to point out that in the episode description for our listeners, Sabine has been very kind to actually put some information there regarding her summits and the things that she's doing to help individuals pass their certification exams, regardless of what they are. It's getting the confidence to go and take the exam and not be overwhelmed and feel that sense of anxiety that sometimes kind of comes along with that test taking, and hopefully get you in a position where mentally and emotionally you're prepared to literally pass the exam as you should. So check out the episode description for information on our upcoming summits and what it is you can do to participate in those. As for a summary of our conversation today, one of the things that I'd like to do is emphasize just the fact that as we each pursue our certain certifications. It's no different than the niches we in the accounting profession choose to specialize in, whether it's tax planning, tax preparation, bookkeeping services, accounting services, CFO services, advisory services. There's just all these things that we can actually go and find deeper certifications to further demonstrate our skill sets and help our clients realize that we, in fact, are the experts, whether we're CIAs, CMAs, PBs, PGEs, the list goes on and on. But each in their own right show that we're committed to our professions and, most importantly, are willing to actually do what it takes to be the experts that we need to be. So I liked how she was emphasizing all that. I also like the fact that with regards to her own business, she was able to share her own journey and how it did take more time at the beginning, that with the support of her husband, she was able to actually get through there, put in some good effort. She's working with various resources to be the professional she needs to be, all while at the same time keeping her other job as well. I think that's something a lot of people can identify with. I like the conversation we had near the end where we were talking about children and how they just learn from what we're doing, and how being an entrepreneur really does set them up in so many ways for success, because they see that we can take risks and pursue our dreams, and most importantly, kind of make money doing what we enjoy and can be passionate about. But the last thing I'd like to point out is her comments regarding time management and at the same time vacations. Very much a proponent of finding that way of recharging our batteries, being able to actually recommit ourselves to what it is that matters most. And in her case, she was pointing out that part of her vacations is to do one with the family, one with the spouse, one with herself, one with others. I think that was a great way of just kind of keeping things organized as to what it is you're doing each and every year to recharge. And I like that a lot. So lots of good little nuggets in the conversation today. Sabine, what would you like to add as a closing thought?
I would like to say that people should always make themselves proud. It's not a selfish thing just to really say, what would I like to do? A lot of times we do things because we have to, but we have to do things that will make us happy, satisfied, content. And making yourself proud should be the focal point, and that will resonate outward and will help people across all walks of life. So that is my parting word. Make yourself proud.
Perfect. Well, that is an excellent place to end today. So what I'd like to do is encourage you, if you haven't already, to obviously subscribe to the podcast. Get the notifications set so that you're reminded each and every week when a new episode is released. We release episodes weekly with the intent of giving you the opportunity to hear from the experts and work on your business. And so I invite you to actually set that reminder, subscribe to the podcast, check out the other episodes, and do what it is that you can in order to work on your business. At the same time, if you'd like more information about this and other principles that we're discussing, feel free to reach out to us. You can contact us at 801-265-3777, or you can visit us at universalaccountingschool.com. It's here that you can get the information, the training, the certifications, coaching, and support that you need in order to build the premier accounting firm. And with that, always remember, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care, of a great day, and be safe out there.